Hello and welcome to another edition of Another Book Review. This week I'll be reviewing 2054 by Elliot Ackerman and Admiral James Stavridis. I'll talk very briefly about the authors, go into an overview of the book, talk about what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, who I'd recommend the book to, and finish off with what I'll be reading for next time. Um, there will be no spoilers to the book, but this is a sequel to 2034, which is a book I reviewed for the channel a few years ago. I'll leave a link below to that review so you can check that out there. This book is the authors of the book. Elliot Ackerman is a former, I believe he worked for the. He's written several novels. He's written a lot of nonfiction about his time serving in Iraq. I believe he was also in the CIA briefly. And Admiral Stavridis was served in the Navy for about 30 years. So both of them are very well versed in the subject matter of warfare, and that showed through in the previous book. And I have a little bit more about their backgrounds if you want to check that out there to check out that review. This book, 2054, is set in the same world, and we have at the beginning of the book a president who has President Castro, who has served, I think this is his third or fourth term, and he is assassinated, and that's kind of in the opening flap of the book. And so the book is essentially an exploration of who has assassinated the president, and it turns out that he's been assassinated by gene editing. And so this, unlike the first book, is much more of, I would say, a thriller than it is necessarily something that is about political warfare between two countries. Um, and I liked many of the characters in this book. I thought the character work was interesting. Just to give you a sense of the cast of characters, there's a character named BT who is a doctor in the space of gene editing. You have a character named Lily Bao who works for kind of this very large corporation. She's very high up in the corporation. You have believe it's Sarah Hunt and Julia Hunt, who are characters from the first book. Was Sarah Hunt, her daughter, adopted daughter, character named Julia Hunt, is one of the main protagonists in this, and she works at the White House. Her uncle is the chief of staff of this president who has been assassinated, and her dealing with the loss of her mother and her biological parents was pretty interesting. And you have a couple of other characters who are kind of in the peripheral of this world. Dr. Chowdhury, who I believe is also from the first book, who is a doctor who is going through health issues, and he's trying to find ways to deal with his heart issues, and this kind of intersects with the story of the president who's been assassinated. So I like the character work. It's very much a page turner. I'd say it's a very good, like, if you're looking to kill an hour or two, you can probably read it in that much time. The chapters are very short and punchy. I liked the technology in the world. It's near future, so it's close enough to us that where you can kind of see the things that they have in the world, like self-driver or driverless cars. They have this. They've talked about the technology of immigration, if coming into customs. I guess customs would be what it would be. This idea of you kind of going through this elevator at the airport, not an elevator, but the people mover, I guess, is the closest thing. The people mover at the airport, and how there's basically facial recognition technology, artificial intelligence that is used to determine if you should be, if you're allowed in the country or not allowed in the country. I thought was interesting. So I liked the tech in the world. I thought that was interesting. I liked the idea of the big, I think, change from the first book is this much more about the domestic political situation in the United States, and how it's basically devolved into where there are two parties, and both of those parties are like constantly at each other's throats. In this book, the Democrats and Republicans have been replaced by the Dreamers is one of the political parties, and the other ones are the Democrat Republicans / the Truthers. And it's a question of, in this world, like, media is constantly being almost Orwellian in the sense of like being constantly recut and repurposed and repackaged, and artificial intelligence is being used to change images and sounds to more closely tack to whatever the party line is. And so I thought that that was a really interesting take. They don't do a ton of it in the book because it's kind of secondary to the plot, but I thought that was also really interesting. And the political fallout of that is pretty dramatic, and there's a lot of political struggle in the book. I guess the things that I would say that I didn't like as much, the plot is a little confusing, and there's some I think real conveniences in the work as far as characters seem to know all these other characters in a way that made it sometimes confusing of who knew what when and why this person knows this thing, and everyone seems to be very interconnected. And I wish there had been a little bit more at the beginning of the book, characters who were spread out, who are further away from the center of power, and maybe came together as the book came along. But kind of everybody's like in this inner circle of people who are in the know, and I felt that that kind of detracted from the book. I thought the book is ultimately much more about future tech and much more about domestic politics than it is about warfare. And so, if you're someone who would like the first book because it was about a future scenario where the United States and China went to war and what that would look like, this book is much less concerned about that. It's much more about technology, where technology is going, how it can be used and weaponized, um, and how artificial intelligences can be used and weaponized. The singularity plays a large part in the plot. So if that's something you're unfamiliar with, or if you're not interested in that, this may be not the book for you. Um, Overall, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a page turner, and I was on board with it. I thought that there were some plot complications that were a little confusing, but overall, I thought it was interesting enough. There were some fresh and new bits about it that made it unique. It didn't feel like something I've read before, which I appreciated. I also liked kind of the political understanding of this kind of sniping back and forth and de-evolution of the political situation. I thought that was like really interesting in the book, and how that the fallout of that can really um, harm self-governance is kind of one of the points of the book. And then I guess um, if there are any final points to make about it, yeah, I thought it was a fun, interesting read. If you're interested in like near future technology and what some of the ramifications are, some of the stuff that's coming online now with artificial intelligence and gene editing and the singularity, this is all in that is all in this book. And so I think it was interesting because of that. Much less interested, I think, in kind of the global game. Though I will say there's a lot of corporate espionage in the book as well, or a little bit of corporate espionage in the book too. So if you're interested in that, there's a little bit there. I wish there maybe had been a little bit more of that, but that's also in the book. Um, uh, yeah, that's 2054. If you're someone who likes thrillers or Tom Clancy esque thrillers, I imagine you'd enjoy this because like it is a page turner, and it does involve a lot of globe hopping and characters who are trying to solve mysteries and things like that. So the political ramifications of a lot of things. It would have been cooler if there had been the stakes had felt a little bit. The book is very like it feels like it's very DC and the rest of the world, and it's not doesn't feel as much as the rest of America kind of comes into the book. And so I wish it was a little bit more there as well. But overall, I enjoyed it, and I think if you like the first one and are not really focused on the war stuff, um, if you like instead of kind of the characters and the writing style, I think you'll like this one too. So that's 2054. Next time, I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to be reading. So as always, please, I'll have the next review probably up in like I don't know a couple weeks, and I'll have the Twitter link below if you want to follow me there, and I'll have the link below to this video as well. If you've enjoyed this, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Until next time, bye.